Today we'll be talking about the syllabi, course-specific information, policies, and procedures. Plan your work and work your plan. Any verbal agreement discussed between Dr. White and the student needs to be typed out by the student and then taken to Dr. White to sign, and then the student needs to sign it for it to become valid. For example, if something does happen and an assignment needs to be waived, the agreement needs to be in writing. Instead of receiving a 0, you really need to make sure that you do take care of this just in case something does come up and you and Dr. White come to an agreement that it can be waived. So that's definitely something that you need to consider. Also, speakers write speeches before delivering speeches. This is primarily a writing class and secondary a speaking class. So you also get to learn the different ways of writing, and also you get to learn different ways of memorizing all the speeches that you do deliver. And it's very important to have that figured out because that is something that you don't learn elsewhere. You can learn it with speaking and writing all in one class. So that's an awesome thing to have. Speaking does have a time limit and is very important. You do have 4 minutes to present your speech unless stated elsewhere otherwise. You do have 4 minutes, and anything less than 4 minutes is subtracted 10 points from your grade, and you are lacking content and you are lowering your grade by doing so. If you do exceed 10, for every minute you exceed, you have 10 points subtracted from your grade. So you need to make sure that your speech is exactly where it needs to be at exactly the length it needs to be. So anything else will jeopardize your grade, so it's very important to do so. Also, this is very strictly enforced, and that's something that you need to keep in mind through your speech is the time limit at all times. If you do talk about 3 or more main topics, 20 points will also be deducted from your grade, so you need to keep that in mind. You cannot talk about 3 or more main topics. Also, there are topics that are forbidden to be spoken about, and those topics are abortions, AIDS, alcohol abuse, and drug abuse, also football, basketball, and baseball, birth control, child abuse, drugs in professional and college sports, also teen pregnancy, teen suicide, drinking and driving, talking on the phone and driving, texting and driving, organ donations, and school uniforms. If you do talk about any of those topics, you will receive a 0. Those topics are very frowned upon, and you don't need to be talking about those topics because they are not necessary and not needing to be discussed. Each student does have a maximum of 10 and a minimum of 4 graded presentations that they'll have this semester. So it's very important that you do, if you do have any kind of resources, you need to make sure that you have those written down. The Holy Bible is not an academic resource, so you need to make sure that that is not your go-to. But any other resources that you do have, you need to make sure those are written down and taken care of. If you do fail to present your speech, you will receive a 0, and taking a 0 will lower your grade. So you need to make sure that any speeches that do come up, you need to study and make sure you memorize and have them well prepared for. Also, you do with the speeches that you do give, you have the chance to have a 3x5 white index card, and on the index card you can only write on one side, and with that one side you're able to look at your notes as you present your speech, and that is very important. If you choose not to use a white index card, you can use an informal outline. It's 8.5 sheet. On that you can also write down all your information that you may have or you may forget, so that's nice to have. That way you do have, if you don't memorize your speech, or there's something on top of your head that you just can't seem to remember, you can have the opportunity to write it down on a piece of paper and kind of browse over it as you do your speech. If you do use a formal outline, you will receive a 0. Those are not allowed, so you need to make sure that you do not have anything like that at all. You do receive 7 additional points if you do not use any notes at all when you give a speech, so that's awesome to have. You have the opportunity to, make a higher grade. Also, you do get a detailed rubric when you do a presentation. Kind of shows your performance and how you did. So you need to make sure that, if you know what you did wrong and how you did it wrong. So that's good to have.